Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Market Insights with Selinix, and welcome to this new video and update on Coinbase. All right, I wanted to do a full update. Obviously, a lot has happened in the last week in the crypto markets, which directly, obviously, influences the price of the Coinbase stock, and that caused a breakdown. As you can see right here, obviously Friday afternoon, with all the fundamental pressure while the stock markets were still open. Coinbase already dropped down. Now, initially, we were still holding the critical level, right? Because the critical level for Coinbase after we got the breakout 2 weeks ago was this level right here, around $350. As you can see, historically, that is a crucial level, and that was also the key level to break the last time we ran it in July. And back then we broke above that and we actually held that, but ultimately it did not hold up. And now we have also lost that, because even though on Friday we still held that, what you can see is that over the course of Monday, going into today, we've actually dropped down lower. Now, is that a problem? Yes, in a sense it is, because we had broken out and now we have turned that breakout into a failed breakout. However, I think we still have a chance, all right? And we still have the chance structurally at this level right here, between $330 and $320. And I think there are some outsized returns at that level. Possibly, it depends slightly on the fundamentals, but we'll still talk about those details in a moment. But that's a critical level, because what happens very often, and for this I wanted to quickly dive into some technical knowledge here. What happens very often, or at least what happens relatively often, I would say, is that whenever you have balance, right? So you have a value area high and a value area low, so where most of the volume is traded, and you have this consolidation. What happens quite often is that when you break out, when the price breaks out, right? We don't break out, but the price often does. We can deviate back into the range as long as we find strong support at the point of control. And the point of control is the most traded level within that previous range. If we then get a strong bounce there, then we can still, after it making it look like a failed breakout, we can still turn it into a real breakout. And that point of control, as you might have guessed, I'll leave that drawing up there, is right here at $320. And it's not only the point of control, it's also the previous month point of control, which makes it just a very high liquidity level. And in this case, it's also supported by the 30-day rolling VWAP, which is trading a little bit higher at $333. And the fair value gap we left with the initial bullish momentum at the end of September. So first of all, I think it's quite likely we're going to drop down into that level, as there is still quite a lot of bearish pressure. But from there, I do expect, first of all, support. And then it depends on two things. Whether from there we can actually, make it a real breakout and rally into that level right here above $400. But let's keep $400 as our first price target. After that, we're probably aiming for $425. So can we do this? It depends on two things. First of all, the reaction. All right, I would love to get a strong reaction there, and the strong reaction is a spike into that level on the daily time frame. All right, if we can get a spike into that level and then instantly make that a green candle, I would say that's a good reaction, and I would say that's the bare minimum we need. If we don't get that, we have just broken back down into the range, and we will just range right here between $360 and $300, and it would be more likely that we would do something like this, all right, if we get a weak reaction instead of that breakout right there. So that's the first thing what we are very dependent on. And then second of all, and this is a little bit harder to measure, but we just need some good market circumstances in the crypto markets. All right, and that is something that is very hard to measure. That's something that's very hard for me to say in this video. Okay, well that's what we need. But let's say for now, I want to see Bitcoin trading above $114,000. If we're able to do that and we are able to get a good reaction, I think we're going to turn it into a real breakout. And there's massive opportunity, I would say, on the line. So keep your eyes on that scenario. Think about that scenario. Keep track of what's going on with the price of Coinbase right now. And like I said, if we do not get that reaction, which is also a possibility, we will just probably still bounce from that level, but we will just turn into a ranging structure again, unfortunately. And then all of this price action we've had over the course of the early October is just a fake out. And those are my thoughts. But in general, definitely a stock you should keep your eyes on. They've done some, fundamentally, they've done some nice developments as well with, for example, a further investment in COINDCX, which is the biggest exchange in India. I like that a lot, and they've been doing well in general with their base network, which is a blockchain network they're developing. So fundamentally, definitely a project or a stock and a company you'd want to keep your eyes on. Technically, it will only be interesting if we fulfill those criteria. More on that in new updates on Coinbase. For now, I think that's what you need to know. So thank you for watching. Take care and bye.